Our next speaker is Tiasa. She's, in fact, we've seen some of the pictures yesterday in the winning contest. Many of us haven't seen this cat, a cat called as fishing cat. And Tiasa has been working for the conservation of fishing cat for many years now. She's also part of the fishing cat working group, looking at status and conservation of the fishing cat. So Tiasa, over to you to showcase this amazing cat and what we can know about it. Tiasa, over to you.
Thank you, Kalyan and Nature in Focus. I'm truly honored to represent my team, the Fishing Cat Project and HEAL today. Now, part of the country where I come from, it's rich in wetlands and fish. So it's very common to see wild wetland species like the kingfisher, darters, otters, all fish eaters and water lovers. And we also have this unique cat, the fishing cat, also a fish eater and a water lover. But generally, we do not associate cats with water. But in this case, nature has endowed the fishing cat with unique gifts due to which it can thrive in wetlands. For example, it has a water-resistant fur. So thick, dense, coarse fur underneath and straight and smooth hair on top of that. So if water falls, it slides off. If it gets inside, the coarse hair is there to absorb it. The skin stays dry. It also has, like claws which half jut out all the time to hook fish. It has a tail which acts like a rudder. Yeah, so unlike the otter, it is a shallow water fish hunter. It hunts fish from the top of the water surface. Looks at the fish, dives in, hooks it, and then it has it, a very efficient predator. Oh, I'm sorry, it also has webbed feet like ducks. Not as much webbed, partially, but yeah, it's there. So India is a stronghold of the fishing cat, and almost 90% of its distribution range lies outside protected areas in human-dominated landscapes. What does it need to survive? Magic, boldness, attitude. We are going to see some glimpses from its life from our camera trap footage. A fisherman guarded his entire pond with nets. This fellow comes and checks out the nets and see what happens after that. It's on the other side, and we do not know how it got to the other side. Very adamant in its pursuit of its favorite prey, the fish. Wait till it jumps into the water. Yeah. Okay, now that torchlight belongs to a fisherman who is guarding his pond. So the fishing cat knows that the fisherman has seen it. It doesn't care, it just goes into the water. Yeah. That's the boldness that I'm talking about. And the community uses a lot of techniques to ward off the fishing cat from eating the fish. Like this is a scarecrow. It worked for 7 to 10 days, and then it didn't work after that. This one was sitting there for 4 hours continuously. It didn't manage to catch a fish, and so it shows us some attitude. If it's a jackal and an otter with the kind of flashlight that this camera trap uses, they just flee, but the cat doesn't. Okay. This can also show you a little bit of magic. Just look out for a frog there. It's just there, it's moving, okay? Can you see the frog? And then magic happens. And the camera trap went off after that, so we don't know exactly if it got it or not. We've also been documenting like important scientific facts like how many cats frequent a pond, how many times of the year, how many times in a month, and also if it varies over a year. We just saw a female and a male fishing cat. Yeah, that's the female, and then the male comes around. Just look at the size difference. And all this is part of a community-monitored fishing cat, a community-owned fishing cat monitoring protocol, which we call the Know Thy Neighbors, in which we give interested people in the community camera traps to monitor fishing cats in their backyard, and then we show them the camera trap footage and ask them to name their cats so that we can foster a sense of ownership. So I took permission from Akanksha and the Gaia people, and so that we can show you some snips from the film, which was showcased earlier this month in the Animal Planet, so that you know what the program is all about, the Know Thy Neighbors program.
It's called the Know Thy Neighbor project, where people contribute to identifying individual cats and recording behavior that is otherwise difficult to observe. This bond with the cat has now created a new team of defenders, the fishing cat protectors.
আমরা দুটো বাকরোল দেখেছিলাম, দুটো মেয়ে বাকরোল ছিল এবং তাদের নাম দিই আমরা রুমকি আর চুমকি। খড়িবন যখন কাটা হয়ে গিয়েছিল, আমরা অনেকদিনই বাকরোল দেখতে পাচ্ছিলাম না। 1-1.5 মাস পর যখন বাকরোল দেখতে পাই তখন খুবই মন ভালো হয়ে যায়, যখন দেখতে পাচ্ছিলাম না খুবই মন খারাপ হয়ে গেল।
People know that it's their state animal, which they never knew before, and the other is they know the legal implications of killing a fishing cat, which is a Schedule 1 animal. So the protection status is equal to the tigers.
You know what they do after it's on? They just say,
What grassroots conservationists like Tiasa are doing here is so important, inspiring this community to be the first stakeholders of this habitat and the biggest advocates for its protection. If we are able to ignite this sense of ownership, we have a chance at protecting these wetlands that are home to both man and fishing cat.
Thank you. It's actually a big team of people working, and the community is also like fantastic. So basically, our conservation programs are centered around principles of building, of basically fostering ownership, promoting tolerance, and also generating a pride value. Incidentally, in West Bengal, the fishing cat is the state animal. And so it was very easy to convince at least parts of the community to actually take up conservation drills in which they could educate their own neighbors. So we do not do these conservation drills. It is done by the community themselves. All these. And they came up with this idea that if the people do not come to us, let's take the message of conservation to the people. So they went around miking in the entire village. This was done by some school children. This is a very special picture to me. This was by a first standard child. Can you see the circled thing is actually, he wants to depict a shallow water fish, and that's a fishing cat. So yeah, I just wanted to show you this picture as well. So basically, a shallow water fish hunter. And in 2010, when we started, people didn't know what a fishing cat was. They didn't know it was a state animal. They didn't know the implications of killing it, let alone its ecology. So for a first standard student to actually draw this, it was very special for me. So I have one question for you. Do you think this is a wetland? Anyone can answer. Do you think this is a wetland? Okay, it is a wetland because it stays inundated for 6 months a year. It has hydric soil. This vegetation is hydrophytic vegetation. And this place, so 18 villages in Howrah, actually is inundated for 6 months a year. They cannot cultivate any crops there apart from these wetland vegetation, which they grow to support betel leaf cultivation. So there are provisions in the Indian legal framework which recognizes certain areas which have certain agricultural practices that actually helps an endangered species to survive. So these 18 villages form an area of 32 square kilometers. And in 2015, the Panchayat Samiti actually submitted a proposal to the State Biodiversity Board to declare this area as a fishing cat heritage site under provisions in the Indian Biological Diversity Act 2002. And if it's still in the process, because we are still doing the People's Biodiversity Register, but if this happens, then globally this will be the first fishing cat heritage site, and it means a lot. So yeah, this is the landscape. That's Saccharum narenga, which is a hydrophytic vegetation. It doesn't rot even if it's underwater for like 6 months a year. So not only Gram Panchayats, we also tried to involve all 3 tiers of the Rural Government Council. The Gram Panchayats, and then a block of them forms the Panchayat Samiti. Then above on top you have the Zila Parishad. So the Zila Parishad also took very active, participated very actively in fishing cat conservation. And now when you go to Howrah district, each and every block office at least has a hoarding of a fishing cat stating that it's a state animal, what are the implications of killing it. And I think that's a big stride forward for conservation. And we also have good friends in the media who actively cover all the conservation work that happens. So it kind of inspires the community also to take the work forward. So yeah, I mean, there are problems. Small-scale fishermen, their loss is not insured. And there are, like different levels of complexity because some of them just fish because they have a pond. So we do not really know, we are still to know, to what extent is the economic loss and whether there are greater threats than fishing cats. For example, a viral attack can wipe out a fish pond in a day. A fishing cat cannot. But still, there has been, once again, proposals from the community. So 40 of the fishermen have got together. They want to form their own self-help group. And a community NGO wants to support and kickstart an insurance program in which they will give the first lot of seedlings, and the self-help group will then reimburse the value of the seedling, and so it will be a replenishing stock. That's the proposal which has come in. We do not know whether it will be a good idea, but I mean, you have to start somewhere and see what happens. Okay, now in a particular time of the year, In a particular time of the year, people actually cultivate all the fish and then leave the ponds dry so that fresh water of the monsoon can accumulate and then they can release the fish seedlings. What happens is then the landscape is pretty much devoid of its primary prey, which is the fish. And it then could turn to goats. And many people ask, oh, really, fishing cats take goats? They do, and it's actually a very strong cat. It has very strong muscular shoulders capable of bringing down big prey. And I would like to read out a natural history anecdote by British naturalist Roberts. He reports an incident from Pakistan where a fishing cat was chased by 3 dogs. The cat turned around and struck one of the dogs such a blow with its paws that it ran away howling and was later found to have broken its jaw. The second dog was grasped around the neck and thrown to the ground. And the third one, which was a pup, was seized and carried away. So that's the strength of the cat, and yes, it can bring down goats. Now, goats are, there is economic loss associated with goats, but they're just like pets to the rural community. Imagine your dog, your cat, which you have named, and maybe a leopard carries it away. You will feel anger, and that's the same thing with the fishing cat carrying away a goat. It's not much, but it happens. So, it creates a kind of negative feedback in the community because, this spreads like fire. One goat gets taken away and people start saying, yes, the fishing cat takes goats, and stuff like that. But then the community has again come up with an idea. This is being also funded by the Maran Booth's project, Sanctuary Nature Foundation. So a black Bengal goat gives birth twice a year to 8 goats, basically. And so they have given economically backward families 35 pregnant goats on condition that each year they will return 1 goat back to the community so that when anybody loses a goat within the community, they get replaced by a goat. And we hope this will create a positive feedback and people will be happy. But, this picture is not all true because this little boy named his goat Chagla, and Chagla was taken away by a fishing cat, and he was crying for a week. And then we gave him the goat, and we said, aren't you going to love him, please? And then he laughed, and that's the picture. We're never going to make up for the loss, but at least offset some of the economic things. But this is all by the community. Okay, so yes, there are a lot of interventions which we have to do as conservationists, but how good are they? And we want to actually nurture the younger generation, so we conduct these youth camps to basically inspire postgraduate and graduate students in zoology to come to the field, work with us, or work independently, gather data, and actually see if the conservation interventions work or not. And the response has been pretty nice. Oops. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Apart from community, threats from people, local people, there is also another threat which is very much present in the landscape, that is from ritualistic hunting from tribal communities. And this is also a part of the film that was showcased. And please have a look at it to understand basically how grave it is.
Back in Howrah, it's Falharini Kali Puja. What it coincides with is the culmination of a month-long tribal hunting festival. Small hunts take place around the state, but on this day, large crowds seek protection in numbers and illegally hunt a host of threatened species, including fishing cats. It doesn't just stop there. Wild meat and skin is a lucrative business, and hunters use the railways to transport them. This year, the team has roped in people from in and around Kolkata and Howrah, the railways and the police, to stop the trade at this stage.
একটি গুরুত্বপূর্ণ ঘোষণা, রেল সীমানার মধ্যে জীবিত বা মৃত কোনো বন্য প্রাণী কিংবা অস্ত্র শস্ত্র নিয়ে আসা থেকে ভারতীয় আইনানুসারে দণ্ডনীয় অপরাধ। এর জন্য 25,000 টাকা পর্যন্ত জরিমানা এবং 7 বছরের জেল বা কারাদণ্ড হতে পারে।
Catching a small-time poacher is a small victory, but everyone here is aware that the problem is bigger and involves middlemen, suppliers, and consumers across India.
So, when we came to know of this incidents and actually tried to do something, you know, the forest department, I'm not the forest department, the railway department and the police department had no idea that this was actually an illegal thing that was happening, and that you cannot, there is no allowance for tribal hunters to indulge in this sort of a mass killing. So we had to move to the court, and luckily we got an order to basically stop tribal hunting, and it worked. And this year we worked with the forest department and several other government departments, and it was quite a success. We'll see what happens next year. But it's a massive threat because 15,000 people entering fragmented forest patches and wiping out everything. It's not and it's not even linked to tradition nowadays. People sell the skin, and that's not tradition. So, yeah, I mean, these local level problems can still be tackled, I guess, but with the sweeping political and economic changes that have been happening in India since post-reform, I think we need to really think out of the box and really try hard to bring about a change. For example, Terai, it was historically known as a serious obstacle for human civilization. It was a malarial jungle. But after the Green Revolution, it has become from a malarial jungle in the 1950s to one of the most densely populated areas in the world that has led to a loss of 98% grassland habitat, and that is fishing cat habitat, which has gone from the Terai. Mangrove ecosystems is another habitat of the fishing cat that is going too, not only because of timber extraction and agriculture, but a new growing threat, and that is coming from the shrimp industry. It has increased by 10 times, and it will increase, it is slated to increase. It's a threat to fishing cats, not only in India, but in Southeast Asia. It's a major threat. And, well, we are a developing economy. More consumption is predicted. The threats are there to intensify. And these are all reports from World Bank and from several other organizations. 68 cities, like one new Chicago every year. That's a lot of bricks, and that will come from brick kilns along riversides, eradicating fishing cat habitat, a lot of outgrowth from the cities into the rurals. So probably where we are working now today, tomorrow, it will be gone if we continue this consumption. Transport infrastructure. Where will the land come from? Where will it come from? Land is a finite resource. Well, also wetlands are supposed to increase, it's supposed to be for wise use, it's supposed to increase consumption. And by 2030, there will be a spurt in the growth of aquaculture. It's supposed to increase by 60%. And intensive aquaculture is not good for native vegetation. And all this is going to come, part of it is going to come from fishing cat habitat, because these are designated as wastelands in our development policies. I'm so sorry. These are designated as wastelands in our development policies. So I guess it's up to all of us to actually instigate a change, instigate a movement, because without that, no conservationist, no NGO, no local community can do anything if we continue our trend of consumption. So I'll end it here, but I'll also thank my collaborators and partners, especially a special mention to Dr. Jim Sanderson. He has been instrumental in supporting small cat researchers and conservationists like us. And also I would like to take this opportunity to thank my teammates. I mean, I'm just the voice and spokesperson for my team. It's really these amazing people. Meghna and Shubro deserve special mention. Also my partner, I work with him. My classmates, they have been like really rock solid in their support. Also my family, I don't have my mom and dad's photo, but that's our childhood picture from my brother and me. And of course, I'm truly grateful to this species which has given me a purpose in life. And I would also like to state that, in Angkor Wat in Cambodia, it's an ancient civilization which has the temple ruins still standing today, and there is a fishing cat which was sculpted into it. So fishing cats and us have been living together from time immemorial. We actually choose the same types of habitat, that is habitat rich with fish and silt. So what we're doing to the fishing cat today, we will be doing it to us tomorrow. So let's just think about our actions. I think we have the power, we just need to be more responsible. Thank you so much.